These are the sounds of Derby. This is Bhangra, a genre of music, dance and culture that defined the identity of a whole generation of British Asians in the 1980s and 90s.
Today, it's the coolest dance, music and fitness phenomenon spreading all over the world.
It's the bedrock of a multi-million-pound industry spanning recorded music, live shows, major concerts and, of course, Punjabi and Hindi films.
And you know what? It's ours. We created it and we're going to keep it alive for generations to come.
I'm Satvinder Rana, presenter of the Aaj Kal show on BBC Radio Derby.
And I'm Pam Sidhu, also a presenter on BBC Radio Derby.
Welcome to Bhangra Beats Derby.
A short journey of the music, dance and culture of our home city and the part that it's played in the great Bhangra movement, which is now a global phenomenon.
Right now, the Bhangra scene in the UK is absolutely massive.
Punjabis here in the UK needed the injection of Bhangra music simply because there was a struggle for identity.
Bhangra was an integral part of all the youths in the 1980s and the 1990s.
It was just everywhere. Punjabi was everywhere. We had such a strong sense of community. So I think Punjabi identity in Derby, Punjabi culture was so strong.
British Bhangra music is traditionally associated with the great Punjabi hubs of Southall in West London and Birmingham in the West Midlands, places that have delivered some of the biggest Asian artists in the UK.
There was a time where Bhangra music in the UK was centred around Birmingham and London. It was a two-city thing, and the music was very different. I feel that the Midlands was more dissy and London was more fusion-based, and they both had a great sound to give to the scene. And then I feel when the folk era came back full circle, and I feel the trigger point for that was Diljit's album, The True School, Back to Basics. When that came out, I just feel that everybody clocked back onto folk music, and that's just for that album to be conceived, produced, arranged, mixed, everything in Derby.
1, 2, 3!
Derby lies at the heart of England and it's been pumping out Bhangra music, dance and culture for decades. It started off in people's living rooms in the 1960s. It made its way into Indian films, the London Olympics, the Commonwealth Games, London's New Year's Eve celebrations, Coachella, and it's even been discussed in the White House.
International artists now recording here in this city is something amazing. These guys are touring the world. You see people like Diljit Dosanjh and co, singing in huge venues across the world, and you think, hang on, that song they're singing, that was recorded right here in Derby City. Isn't that an amazing thing?
Derby is the place that everything's happening. Sidhu Moosewala, Karan Aujla, Diljit Dosanjh, like you name all the artists, like whoever you can think of, they've all been to Derby. They've all recorded here. All the albums have come out from Derby.
We've got probably one of the best and most talented producers living here in Derby, which is True School, Suki Oak.
An artist like Diljit has worked with True School at very early stage in his career, in his success, and even till this day that he comes to Derby to work with True School, and it just goes to say that the work actually speaks for itself. And then of course you have Karan Aujla, who True School worked with and produced an amazing album, which is so different from other work that Karan Aujla has done. But yeah, that's something that not many can say.
You know, ਸਾਡੇ ਉਸਤਾਦ ਨੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਬਣਾਈਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਐਲਬਮਾਂ, you know what I mean? So it's like Derby's right there right now, you know what I'm saying? So Derby's high.
That's a real kind of endorsement of our city, of Derby, of what it can achieve, and we really need to shout about that, because we are still, and I'm confident in saying this, still the centre of culture when it comes to Bhangra music.
Bigger than trying to get myself known, it was like, I want to get Derby known.
So how did this massive musical form reach Derby? And where did it come from?
Well, for that, we have to go all the way back to the Indian state of Punjab, the birthplace of all things associated with Bhangra music, dance and culture.
Bhangra is rooted in the farming folk traditions of Punjab, blending music, dance and celebration. Punjabi farmers started to use different farming activities to create a dance form to celebrate food growing, harvesting and their relationship to the land, which later they started calling Bhangra. It emerged as an energetic dance form that became an important part of seasonal ceremonies, cultural celebrations and of course entertainment around the world. The huge Punjabi community has combined Bhangra rhythms and Western instruments and spread this beat across the world. It has now become mainstream enough where Bhangra influences can sometimes be seen in Western pop and hip-hop music, and of course in Hindi cinema, especially during scenes of jubilation. And Derby was never going to escape this phenomenon. So this building was the hub of community activity in the 1960s and 70s. It was here where the first batch of community events took place. Then it was known as the Pear Tree Community Centre, and it was a place where I used to train and teach Bhangra dancing with Jugnu Bhangra group. It was the Ark brothers who first brought Asian performing arts to Derby with Jugnu Bhangra group.
Jugnu group ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸੀ 1973 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਣਾਇਆ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਿਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਗਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਸ਼ਾਦੀ ਕਰਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਬ੍ਰਦਰ ਦੀ, ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੁਗਨੂ ਨਾਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ, ਵਰਦੀਆਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ, ਪੱਗਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਾਜਸਥਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਲਿਆਂਦੀਆਂ, ਜਿਹਦਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਸ਼ੌਕ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹਦਾ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਈ ਤਾਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੰਪੀਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਤੇ ਆ, ਜਦੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਵੀ ਡਿਡ ਸਮਥਿੰਗ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਟੂ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਵੇਲੇ ਕੋਈ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਲਿਆ ਸਕਦੇ ਭੰਗੜੇ 'ਚ, ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਲਿਆਂਦੀਆਂ, so we did that one. It was impossible to get girls to do Bhangra at that time. And I'm very proud what's going on right now, yeah, even if I planted the seed here in Derby, yeah, no.
So when you look now at where Bhangra music has taken, you know, Punjabis right around the world into films, onto big stages, international level, how do you feel?
I feel really proud of our people, our youngsters who's keeping up, which is good.
So when you look at people like Karan Aujla, Diljit Dosanjh, Gippy Garewal, making movies, making music, making millions, how do you feel?
I feel really good. I feel proud of them, that our young farmers went into this, and which is really good that they're done, and we're proud of them as well with keeping the name up for Punjab, Bhangra, the music, the lot.
So I remember seeing you dancing on stage because I used to be right next to you.
You did. We were opposite partners throughout our term. You as a manager, Gadeep Baji, we clicked together with same height, same looks, you know, and we both performed excellently.
So now you're performing, you know, with your son, Paramount Roadshow, you're going all around the country. How do you look back at the journey that you've been on from that schoolboy who saw people like Salakhan Paji dancing on stage, wanted to be part of that group, to where you are now?
I feel so proud and indebted to everybody who's supported me throughout this journey. You know, not many people can say they've experienced all this fun and adventure, meeting new people all the time. You can't beat that feeling.
So Derby has had a long relationship with Bhangra dancing and was one of the pioneer cities to have its own Bhangra group in the 1970s. And it all started here in the Normanton and Pear Tree area of the city. This is the famous Normanton Road that acted and still does to this day as a magnet for the community to get their desi fix. Oh, this is the hub of Punjabi culture. This is where you get your bangles, your mithai, your suits, your jewellery from, and of course food. But more than that, this is the place where, you know, we used to get our music from. And if you see here, that place there with the coloured pillars, that was the Palace Restaurant. This is where we had after show parties whenever the big bands came from Gurdas Maan to Apna Sangeet, they all came here. And here was the first record shop. There it is, the Electrics. And that was the first record shop we had in Derby that I remember, where I bought my first record from.
So we're not talking cassettes, we're talking records.
We're talking vinyl.
I mean, we had shops that sold vinyls here, you know, folk vinyls as they were coming out, Kuldeep Marniks and stuff. Being able to have something like that, when I think about it, was like, I think it's mind blowing that you could walk into a shop and buy historic releases, and then having all the tape shops we had so many of them, the Haya Music Centre, the Bunni's shop, Panasonic, Krishna's, and then I remember Guild's on Warburg Road. There was other shops on Pear Tree Road.
So Hare Music Centre was just here, the community jukebox for young people, and then further up was Krishna. And they also sold records and CDs, but also a lot of the cultural artifacts, you know, in terms of bangles and bindiya and all that kind of thing. So people got their desi fix there. And if we just walk further up on Normanton Road, we came to Panasonic Videos, and that's where, you know, people used to buy their cassettes from, their CDs, and also their concert tickets. And I remember once when Amajit Sidhu released his Kamali, there was a big queue around the corner wanting to buy that album. And everybody at the back thought, you know, will they still have enough copies? It was that phenomenal. You know, can you imagine nowadays somebody queuing up around the corner to buy a CD?
It just sounds like it was, as you mentioned, a buzz, you know, for people to be queuing, the excitement that would be there, people waiting to hear this cassette. We just wouldn't see that happening anymore.
Well, no, you won't see it. And you know, from Panasonic on the right-hand side was Rathus Music Centre. And that was another place where young people used to congregate and listen to music. So before they bought it, they wanted to listen to it. They wanted to listen to all the tracks. And you won't believe this, but you know, record companies, they used to put the strongest track as track one on the A side, and the second strongest as the last track on the B side. And do you know why?
I can guess.
Yeah, because people used to play the first one, and then, yeah, okay, next one, they used to flip it over and play the next one, the last one on the other side. So then they used to buy that. And we're at the Indian Community Centre in Normanton. Now this place was the hub of community activity when it was first built in the 1980s. This is where community events took place, but also private parties and functions as well. And this is the place where many of the original artists, many of the yesteryear artists from the UK and from India came and performed. And today we're back here again to celebrate an event called Thiyanda Milna, a coming together of daughters in celebration. It's a women-only event, but we're going to see whether we can kind of gate crash. Come with me, come. Bhangra and Gidda is more than just music and dance. It is representative of the whole Punjabi cultural scene, from fashion to food, from family celebrations to community and religious festivals. Bhangra and Gidda plays a pivotal part in bringing people together.
I used to hear about like Canada got really nice Gidda groups and Australia got Gidda. But in England, we hardly had like proper Gidda group who does like traditional dance and stuff. But now we can say we're one of them. And Derby's Gidda group is one of the Gidda group who performed in Europe as a Gidda group, and in history, this is the first one. First Gidda group ever belonged to England, went to Europe to perform.
In Gidda, you normally sing, so it's not just your feet and your hands clapping. You normally have a story to tell, and that story is obviously told through actions and relationships. So it might be talking about your sister or your mom or your other members of your family, and then you kind of like narrate a story, paint a picture. They're just really short sort of poems really, but they're sung, and then sometimes they rhyme as well, and and they kind of sing and dance and perform it basically.
But did you know that this city of ours is one of the trailblazers that's delivered Bhangra music to the masses and continues to do so to this day?
So how did Punjabi music get a grip in Derby? And who are the artists currently leading the charge?
As I started learning instruments, I was determined where I'm like, you know what? If we can't make a real band in Derby or something that's going to do something, I'm going to teach one. So I was determined not only to learn how to play many, many instruments, but I wanted to play them to the highest level, to a professional level. And then I'm like, you know what, I'm going to teach my brother how to play the dole. I'm going to teach my mate Tari how to play the tabla. I'm going to teach my mate Kuli how to play the dolki. I'm going to learn keys. I'm going to teach him. I just went mental. And I was like, well, not only are we going to be part of the industry, we're going to make our own industry in Derby, That was the start of it, really.
ਡਰਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ 81 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ 1981 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ 26 ਜਨਵਰੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਮਨਾਈ ਸੀਗੀ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਦੇਖਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚਾਂਸ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਨਾਮ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਗੀਤ ਗਾਉਂਗਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੀਤ ਗਾ ਇਦਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਡਰਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਰਬੀ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਪਛਾਣ ਬਣੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਗਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੌਕ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਦਿਨ ਤੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕਿਤੇ 15 ਅਗਸਤ ਮਨਾਉਣੀ ਜਾਂ 26 ਜਨਵਰੀ ਮਨਾਉਣੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ
It took me years and years of learning because I wasn't a natural singer. I actually had to learn note by note. Like if you played a key or a song, I wasn't able to actually sing or hum that tune. I ended up learning how to rhyme and doing this, and I used to hear all the songs. I wrote my own song. First song was Gabru Punjab da. So mera na hi ban gaya siga. So everyone says JK Gabru Punjab da. So that came out in 2008, and and then we never looked back after that.
Yeah, 2021 I released my first debut single, which was Pyar Kar Le. It was produced by Roach, and I think although I had been learning music kind of like on the side, I think the lockdown really gave me that inspiration, like Sharon, it's now or never, we need to start putting some work out, so we produced the track, and then it was like, okay, where do I start? And I won't lie, as a new artist, I think, and to anybody who wants to do music, don't get stuck in that kind of like perfection or that procrastination, because that's definitely something that you can sometimes feel pressures in the industry, like what kind of music should I make? Should I make what's trending? But for me at that time, it was just to make a song that I could see myself listening to.
A friend of mine, Palmo, had just started a band in his living room, which is where most bands start, and he said, come and join us. And as I said earlier, I used to sing for a Bhangra group, just doing the bolya for them, but this was a structured band with instruments, guitars and keyboard players and drummers and dolki players, and so that it didn't need to persuade me, fascinated me, and I said, I'm in. We used to practice in his living room, make some serious noise, and the neighbours probably complained, but it was a great experience. And the part of the journey of being a band is great, because you'd fall out with each other sometimes. Like, that didn't sound right, that wasn't right, you're too loud there, or you missed a bit here. But that was all part of the experience, and it was fantastic.
I started singing with the Jugnu group as a Bolian singer, and then it progressed to singing with all the top bands at my friends' weddings, etc. The bands included Alap Group, DCS, Pradesi, Hira, you name it, all the top bands of the day, I performed with them. And then Chirag Pehchan came along and gave me an opportunity to sing with them, with the band. And then Pradesi came in with an offer, and they offered me, as a lead joint vocalist, and I performed all over the world with them. Then also including performing with Sir Cliff Richard at the Millennium Do that took place in the year turn of the century, and now I'm taking my music to India.
We used to have every weekend, every Sunday, used to be at the Gurdwara, and then the guys who used to perform at the Gurdwara used to come to our house, so we were almost immersed in that scene. And a side project of that was we were kept away from the Bhangra scene, so we were literally not even allowed to listen to Bhangra music. Now, my dad was a huge fan of Mohammed Rafi and Lata Mangeshkar, so I used to hear that all day in my house. But we weren't allowed to listen to music with what we wanted to do. I was more about the beats, but for him it was like, oh no, these songs are singing about sharab, they're singing about women, you can't have these on, we're not going to play these in the house. So again, it was that whole, we're in music, but we're in a certain category of music that you're like, you want to be listening to something else, you want to be playing something else. So I used to get my fix by playing my Bhangra beats on the tabla in the Gurdwara. I used to whack the tabla. I was like, I want to put dance beats in, and people appreciate it. I used to see people like nodding their heads a little bit. It was just a brilliant thing to watch, because that was me, that was what I was all about. I was like, I can't wait to get this creative energy out.
I was joining the police. I was midway through my police training, and then bumped into this guy, Haj, from Excess Base, and he said to me, you've got this police uniform, do you want to be part of a music video? And I said, right, okay, it could be something different. And he was doing a song around Servia in Derby, and needed me to play the role as a policeman that caught somebody as they were running away after taking someone's wallet. But it was a route in, and what was really exciting about back then was people were taking any route into the industry just because of how exciting it was and how much passion they had. I had a passion for music. Yes, I was young. I'm from a mixed English Gujarati background, but then came into this Bhangra industry that really set a light and really excited me about promoting events and driving the industry in Derby.
So Derby itself is obviously, it's not a massive city. We do have some amazing talented DJs in Derby. You've got Abstract Sounds, you've got Ratu DJs, you've got 3EQ. These are all highly talented teams, and in their own right they are absolutely smashing it. Again, because the industry is so big, week in, week out, these guys, I follow them all on social media, and I feel a sense of pride that, these guys are from my home city, and, we're all working together to put Derby on the map. So salute goes to the rest of the Derby DJs as well.
There's a particular gem that originated from Derby and provided a huge platform for Bhangra artists across the country. And it all started in this building, BBC Radio Derby's Ajgal Show.
From 1982 to 2022. Celebrating 40 years of Ajgal with Satvinder Rana and Polly Tank.
By the mid-80s, when the shoots of modern-day Bhangra music started to grow, the Ajgal team grasped this musical genre, made it their own, and created something that would set the template for Asian broadcasting in the UK.
Our show was unique. It was very instrumental for the industry. It launched careers, not just for ourselves, but of other artists, for other bands. We did everything that you would want from a mainstream show. That was presenting new artists to the audience and letting us know what was the best albums, who was selling the best, what gigs were happening, who you could see next at what gig, where where you could go, where you could get tickets. All of that information was in one show, the Ajgal Show on BBC Derby on a Friday evening.
That show was the best Bhangra show in the whole country. So all the best Bhangra artists would be there on a Friday, I'm on about the best of the best, and not just the best of the best, all the newcomers. Literally anybody with real talent would be there.
Every album that we released, there's never been a time that we haven't been here. It used to be a second home for us. Every Friday, we used to come here, do the interview, promote the albums, and you know why? Because this was the only radio station that believed in promoting the local Asian bands that did the Bhangra music.
I think the Ajkal team, they recognized, they knew that there's going to be a revolution, there's going to be something big that's going to happen. Somehow they had this inherent feeling that the youth in this country, they want a voice for themselves. They want something, music of their own they can call. And I'm sure that they knew about this and they latched onto this. And we were one of the early bands, I think, that came here to Derby and promoted our stuff. And it just went out there like fire. You know, everyone got to know about it, and then everyone were talking about us. They were talking about the Ajkal team, and every Friday it was a Friday night. That's right, a Friday night was a Derby night.
Getting Ajkal to play one of your tunes, right, was the hit. If your tune was on Ajkal, you knew you had a hit track on your hands, right? And I remember when we released an album called 1, 2, 3, Go. We came on the Ajkal show to release that album, right? And I think it was like #1 for about between 6 to 9 weeks or something like that, right? And it was a crazy, we'd be tuning in on a Friday night, oh, Ajkal's gonna play the song, let's get the countdown for the charts. And we'd be like #1 again and #1 again, and continuously for about 6-7 weeks, and it was an amazing time. Ajkal was the show to listen to, you know. Ajkal Radio set the ground for the Bhangra industry. In fact, you know, the charts, playing all the tracks, keeping people up to date with all the songs that were happening at the time.
One of the main targets, the main aim was to have our song played on the Ajkal show. If your song was played on the Ajkal show, you've done it. You've hit it big as far as we were concerned. That's how influential the Ajkal show was at the time. It really kind of rubber stamped your place in the music industry.
When my song came out in 2008, Gabru Punjab da, my mom and dad were like, they weren't very fond of me being a singer or stuff. But I remember the song had dropped, and Mera Gwanti, my dad's friend Darbara, he used to live opposite our house. My song played on the Ajkal show, and he came to our house, he goes, Chinde, to my dad. And my dad goes, हाँ. He goes, तेरे मुंडे दा गाना लगा सगा, कहंदा Ajkal show te. And I was like, and then my dad looked at me like, okay, this is like, he's doing something with his life, like, you know what I mean? I never just brought these budgie and dolls for no reason, like, there was a purpose behind it all.
The main chart of the country was Ajkal. Bhangra chart was the main one in the country. So if you're #1 on there, you're #1. You got the #1 Bhangra album. I'm in McDonald's car park with JK, eating fries, parked up in the bay, and listen to this chart, and it's getting lower and lower. When they got to the #1, he's like, it was Rana, he goes, this album has just come out of nowhere. 10 tracks. I'm like, 10 tracks? He's not talking about our album, is he? And then he was like, absolutely amazing tracks. He's just blown everything out of the water. And the Ajkal team had no idea that True School is from Derby. They had no idea. They were like, this album has just killed everybody. It's just absolutely amazing. It's been out for 2 weeks. It's just literally undisputed, this was the word he said. Undisputedly, without a doubt, no argument. The album of the year, 10 tracks, Lab Janjwa, Ranjit Mani. When he said Kaka Paniwala and Kulvinder Jawal, I'm like, he is not going to say Word is Born. He goes, Specialist and True School, Word is Born, the best album of 2004. I went mad. Because that's when I felt we've done something, because we were not only the #1 album of the week, we're now the #1 album of the year on the best Bhangra show in the country. So I felt certified.
We were really fortunate in Derby to have a world-class program, Radio Ajkal, who presented and gave opportunities to all the bands of the day, Alap, Azad, Pradesi, Hira, DCS, all the top bands, including singers from the Punjab and singers from abroad that came and promoted their music all over the world. And we, in our entirety, were from Derby, were the fortunate ones who had the opportunity to listen to this every week.
We was like tuned in every Friday night. We had the shop open, we listened to Radio Derby and seeing what's out, what's not. The interviews were brilliant.
We knew as soon as we had that interview, the queue at Krishna's was going to be down the road. And having the support from Ajkal was massive. This is a show that had been going since before I was born, and everyone was tuning in every week. If you wanted your song playing, you were there. You was on the station. What you noticed was people tuning into Ajkal from out of Derby, and from Nottingham and Birmingham and even Leicester and even London. And then after we'd done the show, we'd noticed the day after getting these phone calls, whether it was great you're doing this event or, you know, why you're only doing it in Derby, people were coming to Derby and Ajkal was driving the industry then.
You know, if it wasn't for the Ajkal show, people wouldn't know Derby and music as a combined thing. And the team there, you know, what can I say? We as a community had to show recognition at our last show for all the hard work that the team at Ajkal have done, and you know, brought music to Derby, brought live events to Derby in the past. So it's a big thank you to the team at Ajkal as well.
So these four characters and the Ajkal show, we just blew up the Midlands.
Bhangra beats continue to resonate, not just in Derby, but globally, bringing joy and entertainment and inspiring generations to come.
You are the future for Derby and Derby musicians, and you've just produced that single with JK. Where do you see Punjabi music, Asian music going now with your generation?
I feel like there's going to be a lot more collabs in the future. Like, I feel like a lot of Punjabi artists are now collabing with UK artists. Even in America, I've seen Diljit Dosanjh. He collabed with this American rapper, a boogie with a hoodie. He's a US rapper, and I see these Punjabi artists moving into the mainstream slowly. And I feel like in a couple of years, I feel like the Punjabi side and the UK grime and US kind of music will collaborate, and I feel like it will be good to listen to. It's something different. Like, no one's heard that kind of music before. They're all into their own certain genres. Like, Bhangra's always been Bhangra. Like, folk music's always been folk music. I've never heard a folk X UK rap type of track. I've never heard that before, and who knows, that could be a next track.
You know, myself and my brother Caesar, when we go out to do the shows and everything, I'm always got my scouting eye on. If I hear someone rapping at a show or I hear someone singing, busking on the street, you know, there's always talent to be found. And I think in Derby there is a lot of raw talent around, and you know, people just need that guidance, that step up, that foundation to go on to. And here at Layback Records, that's what we provide.
In Derby right now, I feel like the scene for the hip hop and R&B is still building. I guess for the Bhangra scene, you've got JK, you've got True School, you've got obviously my dad X's bass, and you've got other well-known producers that are bringing the Bhangra scene in Derby. But with the hip hop scene, I feel like we need to push it a bit more as collectives. There's a lot of great young talented people in Derby.
And you know, with the studio, the record, the visuals, the apprenticeships, I mean, look, the world is our oyster, and we'll see where it goes.
With Bhangra being such an integral part of people's lives, there's no chance of it being a flash in the pan. It's here to stay, it's here to evolve, and it's here to continue rising.